Welcome back to the Movie Geek channel with another installment of the Criterion Corner series. I'll be sharing my thoughts on 8.5. This is spy number 140, directed by Federico Fellini. And this was my first Fellini film I ever saw. And the only Fellini film I ever saw. For whatever reason, after I finished watching this movie, I never got around checking other Fellini works. I guess I was wanted to get more different title than a Fellini title. I guess I was more toward to a Akira Kurosawa filmography more than Fellini filmography. But I really want to check out more Fellini work. But that's not what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about 8.5, a film that just blew me away when I was probably 13 or 14 years old, or 15 years old, somewhere around that age, when I watched this film for the very first time. And I was mind blown by the fact that the story was very, very strong. Um, I remember watching this movie, so I'm going to share my experience watching this movie. So, for the first time watching this movie, I was like, yeah, great movie. But then the second rewatch blew me away. I get it. I understand. It had a whole another appreciation for this movie, and you know, even though this is my only Fellini film I ever saw, but it was a powerful one. It was a great start, even though I have not started watching all of his films, but it was a great start for his filmography. Hopefully, in the future, I'll check out more of his work. But 8.5 is one of those films that's just well known, that has had been my radar for a long time. My aunt, who lives in New York, she talked about this film, and I think she's the one who recommended me this film. I don't know. Maybe some of the YouTube video I'll talk about Criterion they love about this movie, and I caught my interest. I added to my list of wanting to buy for the Criterions, and I just immediately fell in love on my second rewatch, and just blew me away by the story. Now, the story is all about this director, this filmmaker who is struggling making this film happen, and it's all about his psychological mind, his craziness that goes on, and he started to go crazy, he started to go mental, and he started breaking down, and I just love that aspect of that film, showcasing the character going through a lot of things in his process of putting the film together, and you know, it his life starting to collapsing while processing making the film, and I love that about it. Because in the first time watch it was a hard watch because I had to read the subtitles. This is an Italian film, and the second rewatch I'm like, yep, I understand everything. The subtitle doesn't bother me at all. You just read the subtitles and just focus on the images that goes on, and I just love it so much because it deals with the director going through a lot of things going on in his life, and just all breaks loose. All hell breaks loose, basically. Like every time that he wanted to make this film happen, bad things always happen to him. That his film doesn't work. It doesn't want to work. It doesn't want to work with him. It's a two polar opposite trying to face off each other, basically. This film trying to face off this director, the director trying to face off the film project that he's trying to put together, but it's never made a match together, and that's where the chaos goes on for this main character in the front cover, who trying to be normal, but at the same time he can because he's breaking down. He's seeing these crazy thoughts on his mind, his crazy moments in his life that's just going through so much. And that's what makes this film so engaging for me to watch when I decide to rewatch this movie again, to give it a second try. First try being it was a good movie, but the second try, I now love this movie, and I can understand the whole hype going on with this 8.5. And I immediately thought, like, yeah, I'm a sucker for character arc films, character piece driven films. I love that so much, and this is it. The 8.5 is basically a character driven film with a very simple story about a director trying to put this film together and his mind starting to go crazy. That's a very simple story, but there's more layers to it. There's depth to it. You see his mind is starting to go crazy. Not only is it's a psychological film with the character driven, but it's also about film, and it's one of the greatest film that's about film, and they touch upon that in this film about how directors can go stress out anxiety with project that's coming up. And on top of that, helping putting this film all together is the music, the direction, the acting, the performances, all around very well executed. That they need to work together, making this film happen, and they all did work together, making the story come to life. This particular movie come to life, and how showcasing definitely vision is to show the main character going nuts. And along the process, along the story goes on, we get to see his life, his past life, connecting to his the life that he has right in going on in the film. It's a beautiful thing for me to watching this movie for the second time. It's to understand the character. It's to understand what he's going through. It made me feel like I'm glued to the screen. I'm glued to the character. I'm glued to the story. That I'm so invested into this chaos that this film brings on. And there's a lot of that moment going on in this movie. There's a ton of moments in the movie that's just I was like this. I was in my edge of my seat the whole time watching this movie. I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And knowing me as an audience when I was 15, 14, whatever, what year, age I saw, I couldn't remember, but it's been a while. But I was so invested to the character, to the story, and knowing what's gonna happen next, and wanting to know what's gonna happen, and how I think like, ooh, how this movie can end? And the end of this movie just blew me away. It gave me a sense of exhale after finishing watching this movie, and how beautiful directed the film, and just it made a wonderful, wonderful experience to watch this movie. A film that touches a lot of things, and that just made me, you know, invested in everything about this movie that's going on. And yes, this film is held and regarded as a masterpiece, and I can understand that immediately. But I don't want to say it's a masterpiece already because I've not seen any of Finley films other than 8.5. I would love to see Amarcord, Las Doce Vida, I believe Roma, not the Alfonso Cuarón film. Other, I mean, La Strada is the one film I want to see. But 8.5 is kind of a film that made for me because I'm currently a film student. I would become a director, and this film is about a director going nuts. And she kind of like playing this kind of using the story as a man versus man. He's dealing with his mind. What's going on with his mind? What's going on with his life? What's happening? And why am I going crazy? Why the film is not working out? It's man versus man, and it's not man versus nature. It's not man versus girl. It's man versus man. It's dealing with his brain. It's dealing with his psychosis that's going on. He's going insane. He's going nuts, and that's what makes the film so engaging to watch, and that's what makes the film so compelling as well. It to tell that story, that wonderful idea that feels so small, yet it made it work and made it more depth and layer to the characters, expanding his mind, his personality, his point of view that what's going on in his world. And it's this beautiful thing that what Fellini creates for this film. And honestly, I'm glad I saw this movie and gave it a second rewatch so I can understand. And this is one of the films that you must rewatch multiple times to get it, because at the first time watch, I thought it was a good movie. But when you give it a second rewatch, I'm like, you know what, I want to rewatch this movie again. And I now love the movie. It's weird to say that because some of the films that you need to depend on the mood watching this movie, and some of the films I know that, yeah, I need to give a second rewatch. Sometimes you don't like it. Sometimes you will love it for the second time. It's very rare to say that. Yeah, I thought it was good, but when you give it a second rewatch, it was fantastic. It had a change of heart basically, and it's a great film. It held a masterpiece, and I could have agreed more. And 8.5 is just a beautiful film that for And also, it's a great viewing experience as a film fan. Not only as the film fan, for film students as well. That you want to analyze more to the characters and the story as well. If you want to write a very compelling screenplay, this is a fine example of that. I'm really looking forward to seeing more Fellini work. I think it's time. I think it's a bit of a due to watch more Federico Fellini's work. I know I heard they just announced that La Dolce Vita is not a print, which made me sad. I could not get it, but I know there's some other film. I know there's an essential Fellini box set, but that's too much a price. But I rather get the individual release. Hopefully they will do La Suada individual release. They only released that on DVD, but you can get that exclusive in the essential Fellini box set. But whatever. But yeah, great release, great film. It's a must watch for film fan and a film student as well. Well, there you have it, guys. That is my thoughts on 8.5, one of Fellini masterpiece. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe for more content coming in your way. And have a great day. Take care.